What's up, YouTube? It's JackalGoldKick, and I'm here with Acid Roots, and we're going to be doing a video collaboration giving our thoughts on DatPiff. So DatPiff is a music site that was mainly like a place for mixtapes, though some albums technically were on there, but it was mostly like a mixtape place. And I did get to use DatPiff a lot, and I think DatPiff is a pretty cool place, honestly. Now, from what I can tell, DatPiff is gone now. DatPiff shut down their place. They said something about reformatting things, but I don't know. I don't think DatPiff's ever coming back, to be honest, because I remember the last time I tried using it when it was around, it wouldn't load right, and I couldn't even download stuff from there anymore. Now, DatPiff, I want to say I found DatPiff sometime in the 2010s. I think I discovered DatPiff through, you know, like, well, maybe like Hobson or Dennis's stuff, like rappers like that, where I was looking for other music they've done. I think it was more so Dennis. Some of his stuff that I reposted on YouTube that wasn't really on YouTube. A lot of it was from DatPiff. His I think it was his cover of Lil Wayne's song How to Love. It was on DatPiff. His song The Industry Off Me was on DatPiff, and that's where I found it. I think that's what I got. That's what made me get into using DatPiff, and it could have been other artists as well, but I know DatPiff was mainly a mixtape type music website, and it had a lot of good music on it. I think it was Lil Wayne that brought a lot of success to DatPiff with his mixtapes, and I think there was other artists as well that would do mixtapes on DatPiff. So mixtapes was like the thing for DatPiff. That's what they were known for. So it was like, yeah, I would say DatPiff wasn't really a music streaming service. I don't know if I could say that because you listen to the songs on there, but you can download them. I don't know if I could say DatPiff was like a music streaming service, but I think DatPiff was pretty cool. I did like DatPiff from what I used of it because what was cool about DatPiff is that you could check out projects of artists. Sometimes people would put together like fan-made projects of artists and put these songs together that some of them aren't even on projects. I've seen this done for Hobson. I've seen this done for Dennis, stuff like that. And you can find some stuff. And another thing that I like about DatPiff is that you can find stuff on there that you can't find on YouTube, which is kind of cool, honestly, because it makes it feel like there's value in DatPiff in a way. Like there's stuff you can find on DatPiff that you can't find on YouTube. Like one of the JB songs that I recovered was his song "Life Is Offensive." It was on this mixtape called Coast to Coast or something like that, and I found he had a song on there, and that was the only place you could find that song. And I remember back when DatPiff was working and you could get on there and download stuff, I had downloaded that JB song and restored it on YouTube. So you had exclusive stuff on there. I remember Hobson had a lot of exclusive stuff on there, like someone I knew online, thankfully back when DatPiff was around, he screen recorded this Hobson collab song called Keep It Rugged with Flawless. That song was nowhere else. And thankfully he did that and I was able to restore it on YouTube. And Dennis had a lot of stuff on there, like I'm a Beast, that song. He had, The Industry Off Me. He had a different version of the song I'll Haunt You on DatPiff. He also had a longer version of his Haley song remix called Crystal Song. He also had like I think like extended snippets, like the Dead and Gone snippet had more in it on DatPiff than the YouTube version, but both versions are gone now. I was able to screen record some Dennis stuff, but it's crappy quality because when I was screen recording it, I had a heater going on in the basement. I'm like, man. So DatPiff, I thought, was a good music website filled with tons of mixtapes, tons of music, tons of artists, and there's a lot of stuff you could get on there, a lot of stuff you could find on there. I remember JB's project on there, or I remember my name being on there. You could download it. I think that's where I downloaded it at. And when you download the songs, especially on your phone, they go into MP3s and you can have them on your phone. Another rapper that I did get music from on DatPiff and download before he took them down was Tucson. He had some projects up there. Hear Me Out, Crosses and Bouquets mixtape, Overdose EP. These projects were on DatPiff, and I was able to download them back when they were around, and I still have access to them. So, and I would say DatPiff is definitely better, in my opinion, in terms of like downloading music than something like Amazon Music. Because let me tell you something. This is a true story. The music I've downloaded from DatPiff, even now that it's gone, I've always been able to access it and it's never gotten taken away from me. Whereas Amazon Music, I remember buying JB's albums on there, and as time went on, I was gonna go back and re-download them, and it wouldn't let me do that anymore because Amazon Music implemented some new thing where there was something you had to pay for to download. It's like, wait, I gotta give more money to Amazon Music even though I already bought these songs. Like, yeah, let me download them, but the difference was I couldn't do offline MP3 downloads like I could back in the day. That was bullshit. So I would say DatPiff would be better in that regard compared to Amazon Music, because at least with DatPiff, you download that shit, it goes to your phone. So I think DatPiff was a cool place to go to for rappers to check out mixtapes and also fan-made projects of a whole bunch of songs of certain artists that may not be on YouTube. It was a good place for that stuff, because there's a lot of mixtapes and a ton of music and a ton of songs that are more unknown, more obscure, sometimes not being on YouTube, that would be on DatPiff. They would be put on certain projects. They would be put on certain mixtapes. I thought DatPiff was a pretty cool place. Dennis had a lot of good stuff on there. Hobson had a lot of good stuff on there. JB had a lot of good stuff on there. Rob Level, who I know we know back, he had some stuff on there at one point. I think he had the Theory of Cognition mixtape on there. There was a lot of good music on Spotify, a lot of mixtapes, a lot of songs. And, I owe DatPiff the thanks for a lot of this music I was able to post on YouTube. It wasn't on there. A lot of the Dennis songs, like I'm a Beast Freestyle, The Industry Off Me, it's because of DatPiff I was able to go and get those songs. Those songs were only on DatPiff. They weren't even on YouTube. And, I was able to get stuff from Dennis and Hobson and put it on YouTube, going to DatPiff. Same thing with Hobson. I think a lot of people got Hobson stuff from DatPiff and then they posted to YouTube because there was a lot of Hobson mixtapes on DatPiff, like, LUSD Result, Emerge, some fan made stuff. Even the fan made stuff was cool. Some of the covers they would make and some of the songs they would put in there. Like I said, a lot of times they would put songs on there from artists that are obscure and not really known and that weren't on any project. So in a way, they kind of had shelf life in a way. They had somewhere they could exist. And Dat Piff was a really cool place. But unfortunately, these days, Dat Piff they shut their place down. You can't go on there anymore. And last time I did try going on there, I couldn't download anything. So Dat Piff is, I would say, it's pretty much now become a thing of the past, much like MySpace, unfortunately, which is a shame because I thought it was a good music place. Now, there is a website called like archive.org or something that has archived a decent amount of the music from DatPiff, which is good, but there's still a lot of music they didn't get. Like they have some Dennis stuff, but they weren't able to get a lot of those Dennis stuff I was talking about that I didn't get a chance to archive, like the extended version of his Dead and Gone snippet, the longer version of his remix to Haley song, which was called Crystal Song, the all the other stuff he had on there, they weren't able to get everything. Same thing with Hobson. Like Hobson had a demo version of Pans in the Kitchen that I remember being different than the one at Gazing at the Moonlight. I remember that being on DatPiff, but just never downloaded it. And that's what sucks about like digital and streaming in general with music and stuff is that, unless you download this stuff, if it goes away one day and nobody made an archive, it just a lot of times feel like it's gone forever. And there's certain things I downloaded, which I'm glad I did, and there's certain things I wish I would have downloaded. So yeah, I think DatPiff was a really cool music site. The mixtape site, definitely I would say one of the best music sites. It had a lot of value, had a lot of exclusive songs, it had a lot of mixtapes and music from so many artists, tons of mixtapes you could download. I remember one mix, like I would download a lot of mixtapes from DatPiff. I'd used it a lot. It was a pretty good music site. I would say it's, if I had to do some ranking one day of music sites, I would say DatPiff's up there for sure as one of the better ones because you could download music from it. There's a lot of music on it. You know, you don't have that bullshit that happened to me with Amazon Music. Even though with Amazon Music, I had paid for those songs. DatPiff didn't pay for them. I could keep the downloads. Still have the downloads from DatPiff. And I remember one of the mixtapes I downloaded from DatPiff was My Son's mixtape, The Definition of a G Part 1. I listened to that one a lot. That was a damn good mixtape. Had a lot of good songs on it. Remember downloading the Tuzin projects and enjoying those off of there. I remember downloading like I think some Dennis stuff off DatPiff, but the main things I downloaded from DatPiff in terms of downloading them and listening to them were, the Dennis songs I found, the JB project, Remember My Name, the My Song mixtape, the definition of a G Part 1. Then I downloaded his other mixtape. I think it was called Mike Right, Gun Lefty or something. It was like a combination title of a gun and a mic. And and then you had like what else did I download the Twos and Projects, the Cross the Bouquets mixtape, and the Overdose EP. And those are rare projects. Those are nowhere to be found on the internet now. And I'm thankfully at the time I just happened to download them off DatPiff and keep them. Yeah, I thought DatPiff was a pretty cool music place, and it's a shame it's not around. I don't know if it'll ever come back. I don't think it will ever return, but it was really cool, and it was really the place to go for mixtapes, especially because mixtapes, in a way, I would say are kind of like the more like how would I word this? Mixtapes are kind of like the street version of albums. Mixtapes are kind of like more, I would say, like underground. I would say mixtapes are the mixtapes are pretty cool because they can have a lot of cool stuff on it. It could be stuff that rappers are do that isn't related to the label or albums they do. And there was a ton of rappers involved in DatPiff and involved in projects on there. A ton of people from Bobby Creekwater to Lil Wayne to Kevin Gates, I think, to Dennis Hobson, and there were a ton and tons of rappers on DatPiff. They had tons of stuff on there. It was pretty successful. I don't know if it had a user base that was starting to die off, and that's why they shut it down. And I think it was a cool place too because, you know, in a way, okay, for example, in some ways it's more convenient, or it was more convenient to download a project off DatPiff than it is to do an individual. Like for example, if you wanted to get JB's project, Remember My Name, it was way more convenient to download it off DatPiff when it was on there because you could just download it all at once. They download all the songs. It's really cool. But now, and the other way of doing it takes longer, unless you can find like one of those websites I try to look for that downloads YouTube playlists. If you want that JB project, you have to pretty much download each song off YouTube individually through MP3. Now, that's something I did a lot. There are tons and tons of songs that I do have as MP3 files that I got from YouTube. It took a very long time, but a lot of times the convenience of downloading a mixtape, an entire project on DatPiff was pretty cool. But yeah, that's what I overall think of DatPiff. Thought it was a cool music site and thought it was a cool place, especially if you're a rap fan. And it was, cool for rappers. That's for sure. It was a cool place. It was one of those music sites that was pretty big. And yeah, I did like DatPiff. And from what I remember, DatPiff didn't have like premium or any type of like payment thing. I could be wrong, but I don't remember DatPiff having anything like that. Now I don't know if DatPiff ever like made deals with rappers where they can sell their mixtapes that were originally on DatPiff. I don't know if that was ever a thing. Let me know in the comments if that was, but it was a cool place, and eh, I don't know if it'll ever come back, but it's a shame it's gone because I thought it was a cool place. I think it was like in the 2020s that it just up and went away. And it's weird because before DatPiff went away, it started not to work as well. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And then that happened, unfortunately. So yeah, I did like DatPiff. It was pretty cool. You could get the app or you can go on a website and use it. But that's all I got to say in my part of this collab of my thoughts on DatPiff. Now you're going to see what Acid Roots has to say about DatPiff and what he thinks of it. But that's it for my part. And let us know in the comments what you think of DatPiff. Peace out.
What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I've got a collaboration video here with JackalGoldKick talking about the website DatPiff and its demise as far as pitches like that kind of happen. So DatPiff was a pretty vastly popular mixtape website that came about in like the mid 2000s, about 2005 or so to about early 2023. So it had a pretty successful run. It was definitely one of the better, if not best, websites of like 2000s in terms of mixtape type fare. Definitely an impactful website. Had some hit mixtapes on there like Dream Chasers 2, Rich Forever by Rick Ross, So Far Gone by Drake, some Lil Wayne mixtapes. There's some big stuff on there that this was a lot of big, that was a huge deal throughout the mid 2000s, early 2010s, pitches like that and further. But this is kind of the concept that in later years, DatPiff started to get like, I don't want to say salty, but this kind of became a lot more just kind of more paying attention to like in later years DatPiff started to only pay attention to like the big names as far as pitches like that kind of happened because I definitely feel like a huge clumsy thing that DatPiff did in like these recent years just 2023, 2024 is they took down all their mixtapes. Now, I don't know if JackalGoldKick talked about this in his video, but I would have to say the concept of it is they did bring back these mixtapes on another website called the Internet Archive. I want to say the total amount of mixtapes that DatPiff had on their original website for the 18 years or so that they were around was probably over 100, 200,000, something like that. I definitely think it was six digits, but not every single mixtape made it to the Internet Archive. Like there's some ones like JB did not make it on there. I originally downloaded JB's Remember My Name from DatPiff back in the day, or at least 2, 3 years ago, as far as pitches like that going to happen. Some of those type ones aren't on there, but there is a number of ones that basically are. There was like a Swizz mixtape that got lost. I really wanted that one. There was like a Young Money mixtape. I'll go ahead and kind of show that one here. There was like a Young Money mixtape, Castle. I don't know what happened to that particular one. I would say if any folks happen to have that mixtape, I would definitely say to post it because that seems like a pretty rare item that I just don't know what happened to as far as that pitch kind of went. But yeah, there were just some mixtapes that got lost in translation, which was a vast disappointment. But it also felt like DatPiff was kind of focusing less on some of those type ones because there were the classic thing about DatPiff was just the fact that you could find low key type mixtapes on there because it was a free website. You signed up, you're able to post like some mixtapes and things like that. And it just kind of had the concept that there would be folks that, maybe some of these folks just worked at like Home Depot or Burger King or something like that, but they could still post mixtapes and, you could build like a base on that particular website. And I think a lot of those mixtapes kind of got lost. This is like some underground type area. It was a true gem for an underground type market as far as that pitch kind of went. I mean, it probably would take like months, seasons, and possibly even more than a few years to find every last mixtape on that particular website, which was a vast disappointment. There were some things on there. I know there were probably some gems that probably had like some good appeal, just of like some underground rap that probably was pretty awesome within a relative type sense that this is gone for good. But at least the vast majority of the stuff that's on DatPiff is kind of up. Like obviously you can get Dream Chasers too if you still look hard enough. You can get Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Drake mixtapes, Kendrick mixtapes, Meek Mill mixtapes, some of those type folks, Wale mixtapes, Big Sean mixtapes, J. Cole mixtapes, some of those type folks. But I just look after it. I mean, the thing about DatPiff that was so awesome is just there was so much free material that you could get. I definitely look after it. Like a couple ones that I do miss, like in addition to like the Young Money Castle mixtape, there were definitely some Hopsin mixtapes on there. Luckily that some of these are still floating around. Like I'm very glad that like the definite dope Ill Mind of Hopsin mixtape that compiles all the Ill Minds of Hopsin is still around. Luckily that did not vanish. There was a Swizz mixtape that had like his zoom. There was a Swizz mixtape that I wanted back in 2023, but I didn't download that had like his zoom in song on there and like some other songs. Probably 7, 8, 9, 10 song, probably like a 7, 8, 9, 10 song mixtape sort of pitch like that gonna happen. Like I said, JB's Remember My Name mixtape was up on that website back in the day, so that's a pretty good pitch. There just were some ones on there, plenty of good ones to kind of get. But yeah, if you completely wonder like what the hell, what happened to like DatPiff and all those mixtapes, it is available on the Internet Archives where those sorts of pitches kind of happen, but it just doesn't have every last thing, which is kind of a disappointment. But I mean, I admit that some folks did occasionally post songs from like albums as far as that pitch kind of goes. I know in terms of like copyright, that's kind of persnickety as far as that would kind of happen. But I would probably say maybe 65, 70, 73, 75% of like the material that was on DatPiff is probably on the Internet Archive. But there is plenty of stuff that got lost, which is a vast disappointment. I had definitely had plenty of great memories with DatPiff as far as those pitches kind of happened. They had plenty of good moments. It's just, like I said, it's probably one of the best, probably in its prime years, was one of the best websites for music, especially rap music, that there was around that particular time. Plenty of good stuff on there, even differential type folks. Like I want to say that there was like a Fallout Boy mixtape on there. Like I said, the Millionaires had dropped a mixtape. Broken Side had a couple mixtapes and folks like that. So there are ones that not necessarily were just rap centric. There were plenty of ones to kind of get on there that just had some extra stuff. Deuce had a mixtape. Now you can still find the Deuce mixtape nowadays, but it's just kind of concept. There were plenty of these type moments to kind of get on there. But yeah, I just would say some excellent type stuff here, and I do miss DatPiff. I'm glad that at least most of these projects are to be found elsewhere.